This symposium is I guess, a unique partnership between an office of a public prosecutor and an education institution like Medgar College, named for one of the great civil rights leaders. And it's the goal of this symposium to do something about ending the school-to-prison pipeline that bedevils so many of our youngsters, particularly our young children of color. And hopefully over the next day and a half, we will provide solutions and a pathway, alternative from school to prison, to school to business, school to success. The words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. about education. He said the functions of education is to teach one to think intensively, to think critically. Intelligence plus character is the goal of education. The French novelist Victor Hugo much earlier noted, "He who opens a school door closes a prison." What we must do to keep young people in school and out of the juvenile criminal justice system is what the symposium is all about. But we cannot instill in our kids either intelligence or character will keep them from entering the prisons without giving them the tools they need to succeed. We must close the prison doors and open college dormitories. The idea for this partnership that we bring together today with this great school's president, Bill Pollard, and Medgar College, to some may seem to be unique and important, and certainly it is. But as a public prosecutor, I see no conflict between what our goals are and the goals of the educational community. And one of the fundamental goals ought to be a commitment to do something about understanding that we still don't live in a post-racial society. The election of the first African-American president didn't change that at all. We have an obscenity that 12% of this country's population is African-American, and 54% is in prison. And the way this has to be eliminated, the way this has to change, is going to come from the kids. And let me just briefly tell you what our goals have been in the DA's office since I had the privilege of becoming district attorney in 1990. The very first thing I did was start something called Project Legalize, when I sent assistant district attorneys and other support staff into the schools of Kings County, teaching children two moral values, which I didn't believe were in conflict with our secular society. And it was an outgrowth of my experience in the Howard Beach case, after I convicted those three murderers and learned in their probation report that they learned to hate people of color, particularly African Americans, at home and in the school. The goal of Project Legalize was to do something about reducing the tension between people who are different from us, and also understanding that drugs are about death, not new cars and gold jewelry. I've had for the last 18 years approximately 15,000 young kids charged with low-level misdemeanors and violations come to our court and get presumptive alternatives to prosecution, cleaning up parks, taking graffiti off walls, and then at the end of their community service of 5 or 10 or 15 hours, dismissing the case, sealing the file, so those children don't have a criminal record. Before that, kids used to walk in like kind of Jimmy Cagney, if you remember, if anybody's old enough to remember Jimmy Cagney, and strut out after pleading guilty to a discount, not knowing or understanding they had their first criminal record that we were never going to lose. And that's why the alternative is so important. We have a program for young gang members, Project Redirect. Children who have gone down the line will be going to prison for the rest of their lives on the installment plan. And our Redirect program works with our faith-based community to turn those children around. We've been enormously successful. We've had 58 people go through the program. We've had everyone but 18 graduate. Only 2 have been rearrested. But because we can't get it expanded, because it's too expensive, You know, it costs $20,000 a kid for Project Redirect. You know what it costs to put a kid in juvenile detention? $260,000. That would make you all angry as citizens. We've had a wonderful program for young kids who come out of the juvenile system, because they have a recidivism rate of 80% within 3 years. And in our programs, which is run by John Gavin and our great staff, the recidivism rate is 18%. And finally, in keeping the theme of education, I'm very, very proud of the fact that for the last year, almost 2 years, we've had a Restart Academy in Brownsville. There are 25 Restart Academies in New York City. You can ask the Chancellor tomorrow about Restart Academy. A great idea to bring kids, or keep kids in the educational system who are chronic truants. You know who the top Restart Academy was last year? Restart Academy run by the Office of the Brooklyn District Attorney. Now, I'm very, very proud of that fact. And so that's been my contribution. And I'll simply say to you all in the educational community, what is yours? Yours is so vital and so much of our partnership.